It is 8:39. Welcome back to CW Iowa Live. Lou and Jackie here, being joined by attorney Michael Jankins in studio with us. As you guys are going to pick up with a conversation that you had just a couple weeks ago, and talking about something that is called the means test.
Yeah, today we want to show you how you can pass the means test.
Now, for those that might not have caught your last time you visited us, in a nutshell, the means test is what?
Well, it consists of two parts. We covered the first part last time, which essentially is determining whether or not you fall below the median income for your family size. So we discussed if your income for the 6-month period before you file, and we're talking about the gross, you take the total, divide that by 12, and you get a monthly amount, and then you just multiply that times 12, and if that annual amount falls below the median income for the size of your family, then you qualify for bankruptcy. If it's above it, then you have to do the second part of the means test, which we're going to discuss today.
Right,
Okay.
so there's a lot of stipulations in there. If you missed it, we highly encourage you checking out weareiowa.com or going to our social media site to get caught up. So do we need to get the calculator out now, or what's going on?
People might want to get their calculators or just kind of follow along, and you'll get to understand what this means test is all about. So before we were talking about looking at your gross income and determining the median income. Well, now we're done with the gross income. Now we're going to find out what your net income is, because that's what the test is going to be based upon.
Okay.
So we take that same income for the 6 months and we have to net it out. So we take out the taxes, we take out the insurances. If you have a retirement program that's mandatory, that comes out. So that means the 401k plans don't. If you have IRAs deducted from your check, they don't come out either. But if you have IPERs, that comes out. If you have a federal civil service pension or a post office retirement or any of the union pensions, all of those are mandatory. The employee doesn't have a choice on whether they want to participate.
Electives.
They're not electives.
They're not electives.
So
okay.
They get deducted out, and then union dues are deducted out
really?
too. They are, yeah.
How about that?
Even though there's not mandatory requirement that you be in the union, if you are, the dues come out.
Okay.
So now we're at a net amount, and so it's your monthly net. So we've determined you're above the median income, and we're netting it out. Now, to qualify for a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, if you're above the median income, so let's just say you're a family of 3 and your income happens to be $85,000 annually, that would have put you over the $71,000 figure for your family size for the median. So we start out with this figure. If I'm meeting with my clients, I just kind of write that number down on my notepad, and then we start taking out deductions off of that. The deductions that come off the net income are essentially standards of living that have been determined to be appropriate by the Internal Revenue Service. They have a handbook, and they use this, and when they set up payment plans for taxpayers, those are the standards the IRS uses. They say, well, this person should be able to live on this amount and that amount. And when the bankruptcy laws changed back in 2005, they just decided, well, that sounds good, we'll incorporate what the IRS is doing, and they use as a basis that handbook.
So what are those things that people need for standard living?
Well, the main categories that are used are housing first,
Okay.
and we'll get into the details of it, but they give you allowances for housing. That's broken down between utilities and your actual, the cost of what you're living in, be it rent or a mortgage payment. Then they give you a broad category that covers food, clothes, and incidentals, and that depends on family size. Then they give you transportation allowances. Then they also give you a deduction for health care costs.
Okay.
So these are figures that are like plugged in. They are what they are based upon certain factors. After deducting all of these things on the means test, if you have less than 200,
I think it's 212.
I think $212, $217, something like
Or
that.
214, excuse me.
There you go, thank you.
You're welcome.
$214
In the middle of the median between both of our numbers, 212.
left, then you pass. If you only have if you have 250, you don't.
Right.
So it matters.
That's the magic number.
214. So then it gets kind of detailed. So we'll go over the big ones first. So your housing allowances, those are dependent upon the county that you live in.
The county. So there's 99 different
99 different
ones here.
Wow.
And also the size of your family. So
Okay, let's go back to the county thing here. I want you to touch on the difference between a couple of, excuse me, a couple of different counties here to give you an idea.
Because
Okay.
we'd mentioned before, it's based off of census.
right,
that
this
are
is
taken.
and this changes a couple times a year.
Year.
So the first amount's utilities. So for a single person, let's say in Polk County, Iowa,
Okay.
you get $412 for your deduction for your utility costs. And that doesn't seem too unreasonable. If you live in an apartment,
Right.
your utilities aren't very high.
I was gonna say that seems
And
kind of
many,
nice.
even though it's the IRS that kind of determine this basis, you would think, oh my gosh, it's the IRS, this is going to be awful. But it really isn't that bad. And the rental allowance for a single person in Polk County, Iowa is $912. That's
Really?
pretty good.
So it's not based of what you're actually paying. It's off of this.
It's just
Off of
these
this
are
sheet.
these are fictitious. It's theoretical. It's off
Okay.
these sheets.
Okay.
So if you don't live in Polk County, we'll take one of the other P counties. How about Pocahontas? Well, those folks might have trouble qualifying for bankruptcy if they're above the median income. Now, they get, surprisingly enough, more for utilities for a single person, $455.
Propane costs more.
It must, but the rents don't cost more, and they get $450. So they get half as much for a
Really?
rental allowance.
Wow.
And remember, we're working down towards this $214 figure, so not having another $450 hurts.
Oh my
It does.
goodness.
And I think the three biggest allowances, or the three counties where they are the biggest, is Polk, Warren, and Dallas counties.
Okay.
And I actually think Dallas is the highest allowances across the board.
Okay.
Now, it matters how many people you have in your family too. So a single person gets $912 in Polk County, but if you got a family of 5, you get $1,279. So it keeps going up and up.
Yep.
And the utilities go from $412 to $578. So these are fairly significant increases along the way, and so they're very important. Might give one pause to think maybe I should be moving if I'm in northern Iowa down here to Adel or Des Moines if I'm thinking about bankruptcy.
But do it 6 months before.
Well, no, that's
Oh,
not
really?
a,
You
that's-
just- you can
it's
just
not a
move in?
requirement as long as you're living there.
East side of town
Really?
has some good stuff for sale,
Okay.
so you have a chance to go
Alright.
check that out.
Now, we were talking about a rental allowance in these charts. Well, that's fine if you're a renter, but the formula also says if you're a homeowner, then you get your mortgage deduction. So it's the larger of the rental allowance or the mortgage deductions.
Really?
There are rare occasions where the rental allowance happens to be larger than some of my clients' house payments.
Right.
But there's many situations where the house payments far exceed the rental allowance.
And then that's allowed.
And it's whatever your mortgage. And then if you've got more than one mortgage, you know, those people are taking home equity loans and second mortgages. So they get the full deduction for all the different mortgages against their
So
house.
even if you exceed the first thing, excuse me, that you talked about, you have a way to get back within the threshold.
That's right. And I mean, there's a built-in advantage for folks that buy homes, and people that are above the median income more often than not are buying a home.
There you go.
That's kind of what people are making some money do, buy homes.
Wonder how
Yeah.
that's happening. That might be part of the
So
reason.
instead of $900, they may be getting $1,700 or more for their deduction.
And that's definitely going to get them to that 214.
So obviously a lot of numbers, a lot of figures that are going on with this. So again, if you have any question about any of this stuff, the best thing to do obviously would be getting a hold of Michael. And the easiest way to get a hold of you, Mike, is what?
You can call me on the phone if you have any questions at 255-1855, or you can find me on the internet at www.iowa-bankruptcylaw.com.
Yeah, and be able to walk you through every step of the process. Wonderful. There you go, folks. So
Did you pass
again,
the test?
one way or the other, he'll be able to give you a hand to let you know how you can do so. All right, great job as always. We will be right back, and when we come back, we'll take a look at totally serious news, including some looks at the fair from the past 11 days, some things you might not have seen that are still awesome. We'll be right back.